Welcome. Good morning. Welcome to the weekly CMA Exam Academy webinar. In this 30-minute webinar, we'll go over Q&A, questions and answers that you have and that you have sent me in the last couple of days. So thanks for doing that. So we have a few questions here. There is a chat box at the bottom of the webinar. If you have any questions, please use that plugin and send me your question. If we have time within the 30 minutes, I'll make sure to questions, okay? But thanks to all of you who have submitted your questions. Like I said a couple days ago, I've prepared them on this PowerPoint slide and with the question and then the answers, okay? So let's get started. The first question is, when should I register for the exam? And this is a very important question to ask. For CMA Part 1, classes in the Academy will end in mid-August. Okay, the testing window is in September and October, and that's the last testing window of 2014. And because the course ends mid-August, I would highly encourage everyone to sit for the exam early September. Okay, the longer you wait, the harder it is to remember everything, and also the stress levels go up. So as soon as you're done with the course, mid-August, take those extra couple weeks in August to take more mock exams, go over formulas, go over concepts, and then schedule your exam for early September, early to mid-September at the latest. That's my recommendation, okay, for CMA Part 1. And for CMA Part 2, I guess it's the same because classes in the Academy began at the same time for my students in Part 1 and Part 2. So like I said, I'll just reiterate, classes end mid-August. Prepare to take the exam early to mid-September at the latest. And you should have already registered for the exam already. And if you haven't, please do so. There's a couple links on week 1. So if you go back to week 1 lesson, I believe assignments for week 2, there are links that you can go to that will guide you and take you to the IMA website and where you need to go register for the exam. And also there's a link for the Prometric Center near you where you also schedule a time for the exam. So if you haven't registered yet, please do so this week, and register for the first week of September or by mid-September at the latest, as I said. Okay, so I hope that answered that question, but if you have any questions about this still, use the chat box at the bottom of the webinar or send me an email at nathan@cmaexamacademy.com, and I'll reply back, and I may even add that question to next week in case others have the same question. All right, so let's move on to the next question here. When should I use the test bank? Okay, now I'm going to answer this for CMA Part 1 and Part 2 simultaneously. Use the test bank at the beginning of the course. And I believe most of you have already. And I've gotten this course, I think, from all of you, which is great. Thank you for sending those in. The reason why I want you to take the exam of the entire part at the beginning of the course is to use that as the baseline to see your level of understanding of the entire content of the Part 1 or Part 2, whichever you're taking. Okay, and I've gone all of it, like I said, so that's the first time I wanted you to use the test bank. And then I would like you to start using the test bank after each section. Okay, so once we complete Section A, take a mock exam of Section A alone until you score 80% minimum. Hopefully you're scoring higher than that, hopefully in the 90s. But if you're scoring 80s, in the 80s, that's fine too. You'll be fine. Okay, so that's why I picked that as the bare minimum that you need to score. If you're scoring below 80, you need to keep practicing. Okay, you need to keep studying that same section. Okay, because this is a good point, a reference point for you and also for me, that you are progressing, that you are understanding the lectures, and understanding the materials in your flashcards and whatnot. And after each section, and once you score 80 or above, I want you to send me a screenshot of that score. Why? Because I am holding you accountable. I'm your coach. So I want to see how you're progressing. I'm invested in you, and I want you to succeed in the academy. But more importantly, I want you to pass the exam. Okay, that's the goal here. That's your goal, and that's my goal for you. Okay, so let me help you by being your accountability coach, if you let me do that. If you let me be that, rather, by sending me your scores after each section. All right, so do that. And once you complete section A, for example, and you score above 80, you can move on to section B. And once you complete section B, and this is very important, please pay attention. Once you complete section B and you take a mock exam and score above 80%, that's great. Do not move on to section C yet. 80% on section B, go back to section A and take another mock exam of that part. Okay, this is a great way to see if you're remembering everything you're learning, because there's a lot of content on the CMA. So as you progress in the course, there are going to be things that you may start to forget that you had learned a couple of weeks ago. So by going back in this manner, you're keeping the information fresh in your mind. Okay, and that's exactly what I did. And let me tell you, it helped a lot. It was amazing. Okay, I was able to remember so much more than I thought I actually would by doing this back and forth. Okay, so as another example, once I finish section C and take a mock exam or several and score above 80%, what I do is I went back to section A and took another mock exam until I scored 80, went to section B and did the same thing. Okay, so this is how I was able to remember all the information before sitting for the exam. So I want you to do the same, and I'm going to in your assignments, I will tell you, okay, we finished section B. Now I want you to go back to section A and take a mock exam and section B. All right, and then of course you got to take and you go on to the next section. So please do it in this manner. It will help you so much. I know it because it helped me tremendously. And when I spoke with other CMAs, some of them did the same thing that I did, and they thought it was one of the best techniques they've used when they were studying. So I highly encourage you to use that, all right? Now, the next time you're going to be using the test bank is at the end of the course. And at that point is when you're going to be taking a mock exam of the entire part, or part 1 or part 2, whichever you have signed up for. All right? And you're going to be taking that one repeatedly actually, until you score at least 80% or more. I'm hoping that with this big mock exam, you're scoring above 90. But if you're in the 80s and you stay in the 80s, don't feel discouraged. That's a good score too. You'll be quite capable to pass the exam if you're scoring above 80%. Okay, so that's the other time I want you to use the test bank. And like I said before, send me screenshots of your test results. You're doing. I'm tracking all this. I'm keeping you. I'm very familiar with the questions. Okay, and by default, you're going to become very familiar with the answers. So it's going to be almost automatic. Once you see a question, you've seen, oh, I've seen this question before, and by memory you will know what the answer is. Okay, but that does not mean you know why that answer is correct. Okay, so be careful with this. Don't if you fall in this, and you'll notice it, you'll see it. So if you are in this situation, push through that and still try to think of as to why that answer is correct. All right, that will be very helpful. So even though you may know the answer already because you've seen it before, just think it through and understand why that answer is correct. That will only help you understand it better, understand the concepts better and the formulas. Okay, so just watch out for that one little thing. Okay? And lastly, use flashcards in conjunction with the test bank. Use your flashcards. Okay? The test bank is great to test your knowledge, obviously. And the concepts or formulas that you don't know or can't remember, then take those flashcards with you wherever you go and just read through them, memorize them, and just keep them with you. It will help you during the test banks as you progress. All right, so that is the answer for when you should use the test bank. I hope that explained it, but if it didn't, again, leave a question at the bottom of the webinar, and I'll get it, and if we have time to go over it, we will. If not, then I'll personally reply to you, and I may also include it in next week's webinar if that's something that I think will benefit everyone else. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. I'm having a hard time memorizing formulas. Any tips? And again, this is for CMA Part 1 and Part 2. Write them down repeatedly. Okay, write them down repeatedly. I don't know if you remember or if you experienced or have seen someone back in elementary school, when someone misbehaved, the teacher would tell them to write the behavior that they were not going to do anymore for like 40, 50 times. I've seen it a lot of times. I've done it a lot of times, and it does work. So when I was studying for the CMA, I wrote down the formulas over and over and over again. And let me tell you, it really helped. I was able to memorize all the formulas, and when I went on exam day, as soon as I sat, I could read a question, and the formula would pop into my head right away. And those milliseconds really add up, okay, because there's a time limit on the exam. So the faster you can process information, almost like a computer, the faster it is, the better you perform, okay? So by writing it down repeatedly, you'll be able to memorize the formulas, and that will help you tremendously during the exam. Okay, but when you write them down, don't think of something else and just be like a motion with your hand, but actually be conscious about what you're writing down every single time, because that's what's going to help you memorize it and cement it in your head. Okay. Next, again, use your flashcards. If there are formulas that you're having a hard time with, besides, well, in addition to writing it down several times or hundreds of times, as many times as it takes you, use your flashcards and take them with you wherever you go, just to keep the formulas in your head. Now, one thing to remember though, don't just memorize the formula, okay, but understand what the formula means and why would you want to use it in a real life scenario. This is key, because on the CMA exam, the people who prepare it, the ICMA, they already assume you know the formulas. Okay, they assume you know the concepts. What they'll test you on is why would you want to use those formulas? In which circumstances would you want to use them? That's when you get tested on. That's the highest level of understanding of any concept, how to apply it to a real life scenario. Because you can be a walking dictionary, but if you don't know the meaning or how to apply the words, you're not going to be able to speak, right? The same thing with formulas. You can know all the formulas in the world, but if you don't know how to apply them in a real life scenario, it's like if you don't know. So in addition to memorizing the formulas, understand their definition and why would you want to apply them, or in which scenarios would you need to use them. Once you grasp all that, the essay section of the exam is going to be a piece of cake for you. Okay, a piece of cake. I'll tell you because from experience. That's to the level of degree that I took to learn these formulas. And when I went to the essays, it was easier than I thought it would be, to be honest with you. So if you just memorize the formulas by themselves, it's not enough. Understand the why and the how. Okay? And then also, I sent you guys via email my definitive guide to CMA exam formulas. It's a guide that I've put together that compiles all the CMA formulas into like 5-6 pages per part. I really hope you're using it in some way. And if you've lost them or can't find that email, let me know. I'll go ahead and send them again to you, because I think it's a really good resource, and I put it together for the exam. I wish there was a resource like that, and because there wasn't, I had to write it down myself. I had to create different like ad hoc guides for myself. But then I figured, now that I'm a CMA, I know others may need it as well, so that's why I've created it, and I've sent you via email a copy for you to use. But like I said, if you cannot find that email, or if you've lost it, please let me know. I will resend it again gladly. Okay? All right, moving on to the next question. I'm behind in my weekly lessons. Can I still catch up? Okay, so some of you have sent me this question. So, and I know who you are because I'm tracking your progress, and I know you're falling a little behind, but that's okay. Okay? The short answer is yes, you can still catch up. But understand why you are getting behind. Because if you're not conscious about why you're getting behind, it's going to happen again. In a week or two, you're going to try to catch up again, but then something may happen, or whatever the reason was that made you fall behind will come up again. Okay, so understand why you're getting behind. That's very important. And then what can you do to change that circumstance or that event that keeps happening that is causing you to fall behind the course? Okay, it requires a little bit of planning, a little bit of thinking, but once you go through that, I think you'll be in a much better position to start back on the course, and this time go all the way till the end. And it's like a reality check. Why are you taking the exam? Why do you want to become a CMA? Are you fully committed? It's a question to really ask yourself in this time. Okay. So if you're falling behind, ask yourself, why do I want this? How bad do I want it? It really comes down to that. How bad do you want to pass the exam? How bad do you want to become a CMA? And why do you want to do that? Okay? Class, like I said earlier. So, and since classes end mid-August, you still have a couple weeks before the testing window in September begins. So you have time. So if you've fallen behind 1 to 2 weeks right now, even 3 weeks, right now we're starting week 5, I believe. So if you're falling up to 3 weeks, say even 4 weeks, okay, you still have time to catch up. And let's say you haven't even started yet. For some reason, you just haven't started lesson 1 or week 1, nothing. And the textbooks have been sitting on your coffee table. You just haven't had the time to do it for whatever reason. It's okay. You still have time to start. If you start now, even if it's from week 1, you will have plenty of time to take the exam. Just register for the exam probably late September, early October. Okay? Don't register early September because you won't have enough time. So plan it out. So it's going to be about 12 to 13 weeks for the entire course to be completed. Once you complete the entire course, give yourself a couple weeks to go over the information, over the content, and take a before sitting for the exam. Okay? So like I said, even if you haven't started the academy at all for whatever reason, if you start today, because every Saturday is when I release new lectures for the whole week. So that's why I go by Saturday. So if you start today, you still have time. Don't feel discouraged. Actually, feel encouraged because there's time for you to take the exam this year. Don't forget that the exam content is going to change starting 2015. Okay, and you already have the textbooks. You have access to the academy right now for the way the format is going to be now, this year. So if you don't take it this year, just remember you're going to have to buy new textbooks for the 2015 exam and forward. Okay, so don't waste your money, don't waste your time. Do it now, get it done. I'm behind you, man and woman. I'm behind you. I'm here to help you. Okay, so whatever I can do to get you going, get you moving, please let me know. I'll help you out. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to, why do you want to become a CMA? What are you going to get out of it? Understand your why. Okay? And another thing is, resistance is a toxic force. All right? And let me expand on that a little bit. Here's a quote by Jason Pressfield. Any act that rejects immediate gratification in favor of long-term growth will elicit resistance. In other words, anything that is worth pursuing in life, such as a CMA, anything that rejects immediate gratification, because let's be honest, studying for the exam is a 3-month process. There's no instant or immediate gratification at all. right? You will get gratification once you take the exam, and even then, you still have to wait another 2-3 weeks to get your results. So let's say you have to wait 4 months, 4 to 5 months to really know you'll have gratification that you've completed and passed the exam. So for something like this, okay, resistance will be a toxic force, will be the enemy in your mind. And a great book that I want to recommend you is The War of Art by Jason Pressfield. It's all about resistance and how to overcome resistance. It's a very short read. I know you have a lot to read for the CMA as it is, but this book may put things in perspective if you're falling behind, or if you feel discouraged or demotivated. Read this book. It's very short. I read it in one sitting. It's fantastic. Okay, it just pumps you up. It gets you moving, and then you start noticing resistance as it comes up. You start to notice what it is. Okay, and you can actually overcome it and push forward. Anyway, so I recommend that book, War of Art. If you're falling behind or you feel a little demotivated, read it over coffee sometime this weekend if you can. I think I've beat this to death, so let's move on to the next question. I think we're running a little bit short on time here. The pace of the weekly lessons is low. Can I jump ahead? I highly discourage it, okay, because the course is designed in bite-sized lessons to prevent information overload. There's so much to cover in the CMA, and a lot of it you may know already. That's why you want to jump ahead. But there's always something to learn, okay? For example, like I said before, you may have memorized the formulas, and you feel you're ready to move on to the next section. But do you understand when you would use those formulas, when or in which circumstances those formulas apply? See, so that's another level of understanding. So instead of just pushing through and moving forward quickly, understand the information, okay? Understand the concepts. Understand how and why and where you would use them. So if you feel it's slow, take the extra time of that particular week and practice by that particular section. Continue memorizing the formulas and concepts at a deeper level. There's always something to improve. There's always something to learn, okay? So, like I said, I encourage you not to move ahead. Stick with a weekly plan. They're laid out for a reason, so follow that process. And the only exception I would make is that if you are scoring 100% 3 times in a row in a mock exam of a particular section, then absolutely move on to the next section. But that's the only exception. Okay, so if you want to move on, then take a mock exam, score 100% 3 times in a row, because that means that you really understand the concepts and the formulas really well. So that's the only exception I would allow for someone to jump ahead to the next section or to the next week within the same week. Okay, because each week has certain lessons, so I want you to stick to those. All right, so that's the only exception. Other than that, please stick with the plan, and you will find a lot more success that way. All right, next, I'm feeling nervous about the exam. When are we going to cover exam strategies? Okay, I know how you feel, all right? I know this is the part that stresses everyone out about the exam strategies, because at the end of the day, we just want to pass the exam, right? I mean, we want to pass the exam and become a CMA. But this is not the time to be concerned about exam strategies. Don't even worry about it. That's like added stress that is not needed. Okay, trust the course, trust me, we'll cover it, but not right now. All right, we'll cover exam strategies towards the end of the course, in between week 11 and week 13. Okay, the course is 12 weeks long, but I'm going to allocate 1 week, an additional week, for exam strategies, exam taking tips, and so on and so forth, all just for that. Okay, so for now, just don't worry about it. Just focus on learning the CMA subject matter, and we'll cover the exam strategies later on. And we'll cover the multiple choice question strategies, how to go through them quickly and accurately. Okay, also the essay, we'll go over essay strategies. The essay portion, I think, stresses candidates the most, even above the MCQ questions. And that's because essays are very hard to predict. You don't know what you're going to get asked. You have to expand. I mean, it's very, very involved. When I took the essay part of part 1 and part 2, there was these questions were very, very involved. There was so much to calculate before even starting to answer the question. Okay, but don't stress about it. I know the right techniques and the right strategies to conquering essay questions. So don't stress about it. I'm here to help you. We'll go through them together, okay? But for now, don't worry about it. Don't stress about it. Next, I can't decide on a good calculator to recommend. Over at CMA Coach, excuse me, over at CMAcoach.com, I have a page called the CMA Toolkit. I've listed the best tools for a CMA candidate. And these tools include a financial calculator. The one I've used and I highly recommend, and it is approved by the IMA, is the Texas Instruments BA2 Plus. Okay, and if you go on to cmacoach.com/CMA-toolkit, you'll find a link where you can purchase it on Amazon, or you can go to your local store, Staples, or anywhere and just pick one up from there. Okay, but if you want to buy it online, just go there, click on the link, and Amazon will ship one to you. And actually, once you're done with the CMA exam, this calculator comes in really handy because you'll be so excuse me, you'll be so familiar with it that probably you'll be using it at work. That's what I do. I use it every day at work, especially when I go to meetings. Last question that I have here, I believe is the last question. Yep, last question. I'm not feeling very motivated right now. What can I do to motivate myself? And I've covered this a little bit before, but let me cover it again. Remember why you want to become a CMA. It is a long process. Yes, it is. 4 months, 3 months to prepare for the exam, and then take it, and then wait for the results. The big piece here is the preparation process, right? It just takes too long. But it's because there's so much information we need to study. That's why it takes that long. Okay, any shorter than 3 months, in my opinion, is just you're setting yourself up for failure. I see crash courses on the CMA. It lasts 1 month. I just cannot believe it. Who can absorb this much information in 1 month? Impossible. 3 months is the bare minimum. Okay, that's why it takes this long. And during that time, it's easy to get discouraged because it's just the horizon is like so far away. So understand why you want to become a CMA. Keep that in your mind. Keep that in mind. Do you want career opportunities? Do you want to get a promotion? Do you want to change a company but get a higher job, a better pay? CMAs on average earn $130,000 per year, and that's on average. Some make more, some make less. It depends on the industry. It depends on the size of the company, of course, right? So there are many factors. But on average, CMAs make $130,000 per year. That's really good pay. So is that the reason why you want to become a CMA? Hey, it could be. There's so many reasons, right? Just understand which one is yours. Do you want to become a leader in the accounting field, or you want to become a leader in accounting, your department, your company? That could be another reason. And having the CMA body of knowledge definitely helps you be a leader, because it's about management accounting, right? You help in decision making, in analysis, so on and so forth. So is that the reason why you want to become a CMA, to be a leader? I think that's a great reason. They're all good reasons, really. Another one could be, you want to provide for your family, more for your family, or you want to improve your lifestyle. Okay, could those be reasons why you want to become a CMA? Hey, it could be, or it could be a combination of all of them, really. But just what I'm trying to get to is just know why you want to become a CMA. When you feel demotivated, just think about that, and I'm hoping that will encourage you to keep moving forward. You always need something to keep moving you forward, and even if none of this encourages you enough, talk to your family and friends. Tell them, hey guys, I'm feeling demotivated about taking the exam and preparing. Could you guys help me stay motivated? And they'll help you. I mean, they'll love you. They're all behind you. Your family especially will always be like, hey, how's it going? they'll keep you accountable too. So that helps as well. Accountability is very important, and that's why I'm here too. Okay, so we'll work together in making this happen, but you need to put in your part as well. All right, so that covers all the questions that came in, and I believe we don't have any more time. I know it's a Saturday. I want to thank all of you for actually making time to be here. I hope that this was very helpful to you. Let me see if we have any questions. We do not have any questions that came through the live feed, so that means that we've answered all of them, and that's great. So that concludes our webinar for this week. If you have any questions, please email me, and I'll include them in next week's webinar. Okay? And of course, I'll send an invitation to all of you via email with a new link of the new webinar, because it changes every week. And just watch out, keep an eye out for that, and register for the webinar. And if you are watching this, or you haven't had a chance to watch this, actually, there's going to be a replay button at the bottom. But I guess if you're watching it, you would already know. Okay, but anyway, I'll send you a link of the replay video, the replay webinar for you to watch. All right, so guys, have a great weekend. And the new lessons are up for week 5. Go through them, or week 5. Go through them, and if you have any questions, email me. All right, I'll see you then. And by the way, if you want to take a break, the FIFA World Cup is on right now through mid-July, I believe. Okay, if you're a soccer fan, go watch a game like once or twice a week, just to get your mind off of the CMA for a little bit. It's very exciting, and there are a lot of fun games going on. Okay, all right, guys. Talk to you then. So talk to you next week. Bye.